Today's episode is all about what to do if they are not ready for a relationship. And I'm going to be pulling from my most recent inspiration from Netflix because if you haven't caught Love is Blind season 6, and I am not sponsored, then what are we even doing? It's such a good show. But there's a couple on there. They made it all the way to their wedding or the ceremony, and the guy said he wasn't ready. And so I feel like that is similar to where some of you might be. It's definitely somewhere I was at multiple times in my dating and relationship experience. So I wanted to speak on that because it can be really hurtful. So if you're in that place where maybe they don't want a relationship, or maybe they don't want to get married or move in, then this episode's going to really help. So if you're new here, my name is Claire. I'm your host, and I love helping overachieving, high-performing women who are extremely intelligent. You're a go-getter, and you're probably slaying it with your career, climbing the corporate ladder, or maybe you're an entrepreneur, and maybe you have Airbnbs. I don't know. Success can be measured different ways, but if you are still that successful but struggling in your relationships, then this whole party is for you, honey, because that is what I do, and I help women who are overthinking, or you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're constantly just in your head about what to say, or I said something wrong. This is the place for you. And if you are enjoying this podcast, or even if you're new here, it would mean so much to me if you hit the 5-star review on Apple, on Spotify, or leave a comment on YouTube. I'm so excited, and it makes me excited to see reviews and seeing that y'all are enjoying this. So hit that 5-star. Okay, let's dive in, because I definitely just to say and put my heart out there for AD, who is a woman on the Love is Blind season 6 show. I just felt so much for her, because she was falling in love with Clay, and Clay basically said, I'm not ready. In many different ways, he said he wasn't ready at the altar. Now, in my own experience, I have definitely dealt with that exact statement in different ways. And whether somebody said that to me explicitly, they actually said the words to me, or they just were being distant, or they just were kind of hovering around, I have experienced it all, on all levels. I'm maybe not marriage necessarily, but getting close to that. So I know just deep down in my heart that it can really, really hurt when somebody says to you that they're not ready. And for me, there was definitely a relationship that I had really just messed up. And I say messed up not to say that I don't love my husband. Obviously, I love my husband. He is my person, and I'm so happy and love being married to him. But I definitely just messed up in relationships. And I was dating this guy, and he was a wonderful, wonderful human. He was so sweet and kind and all the things. And I just had it in my mind, like I was getting older. I was like I think it was probably 31 or 32 at the time. Yeah, 31, 32. And I remember just feeling we were a year in, and there was something inside of me too with many of my relationships that getting to a year meant something to me. In my mind, I made it mean that if I can make it a year with someone that is significant, that we're getting serious and like it's full steam ahead. And we're approaching a year, and I just got really clear with this person, and I'll admit I was pressuring him. I really wanted to know if we were going to get married, and I was just really I just want to say that is normal. I think in our culture, there's a lot of pressure to get married, that women are valued more, and we are seen as worthy when we are married and have children. It's just part of being in a capitalistic, patriarchal, misogynistic culture. That's what we do, right? That's where women hold value. So under that whole system, I started seeing, well, now I can see, I didn't see it then, that I had major pressure internally to get married. So we're approaching a year, and we have a talk. I think I even said it to him, like, we need to have a talk. And he came over to my apartment and I just like laid down the law. And there was something about the conversation that, looking back in hindsight, and I can even feel it right now, and I'll just be honest, I'm feeling in my body like this sense of shame, like I can feel it in my chest and in my face a little bit, that looking back, even talking about it right now, I was not talking about a union, a marriage. I was talking about what I wanted. And that is kind of a big deal, to recognize and see that I wanted to get married. I wanted to have a white dress and I wanted to get to this point. I wanted marriage, but I really was overlooking the human that I wanted to have marriage with, have a wedding with, and to be married to. And that, if I could say anything that I totally did wrong, not just in that relationship, but in many relationships before that and some after, that I really was focused on a destination. I really wanted to get somewhere. And I want to just relate that kind of mentality about I want what I want, and I'm really clear and attached to that. It's kind of like approaching health and trying to get down to a certain weight or lose a certain amount of weight for a vacation. And by the way, you can do that. So I'm going to make the parallel here in a second, but you can diet and do unhealthy things. You could drink a bunch of water, eat only apples. I don't know. I don't want to activate anybody, but you can do unhealthy things so that you get your goal, quotations of that, you get your goal, lose 5 pounds, fit into the dress by that date. Now, I used to be a personal trainer and a strength coach, and I used to compete in bodybuilding, essentially. Not bodybuilding, but fitness. And I will tell you from personal experience, from having that pressure that escalated into I had to look a certain way or be a certain way, into literally competing in fitness, that wrecked my health long term. Wrecked my health, wrecked my hormones. I had the worst health issues in the last 3 years recovering from my hormones because of the damage that I did, because I was attached to a destination. I was like, I got to look, I have to be lean and have a 6-pack for this fitness competition. And while I did it and it felt like it was worth it at the time, and I'll tell you right now, it wasn't worth it, that I paid the price for that. And so just like trying to make marriage or getting to a certain milestone in your relationship, that is not the point. I say this with so much love. If you are really attached to that, then please let this be the wake-up call that that is not going to mean that you feel safe, that you feel happy, and that you're with your person. And just to be honest, our divorce rates in this country, and I'm sure the world, reflect that people are training and focusing and getting attached to a destination, and we're not really preparing or getting ourselves truly ready for marriage. All right. Now, while that is true, I'm totally aware that it is possible, and for many of you, and myself included in the past, when somebody would say that they're not ready, I would feel rejected. Okay, that was like my story, that somehow if somebody wasn't ready, then that meant something about me. So I want to just separate this into two pieces. So Clay says to AD, he's not ready, and he had all kinds of reasons to say that why he wasn't ready. And I mean, objectively, first of all, he wanted to go to therapy, he needed to work on himself, and I agree with that. I think that. And let me just be clear that I'm saying I agree that working on yourself, going to therapy, unpacking your trauma, looking at your wounds is a worthy journey. Everybody should be doing that, right? But I don't want us to confuse that we are not ready until those things are accomplished. Because if that's the mindset, then we will never be ready. Because I think we often misinterpret that ready is perfect. And I'm a big fan of it's good enough, right? I've dealt with the gremlin and the subconscious and self sabotage of perfection. I mean, even this right here, like in the past, I would totally restart this podcast over because I couldn't say self-sabotage right. And if you didn't know, I don't do any edits on these podcasts because I am really clear that I don't want to be perfect, and perfection is a lie. So the whole idea that I will be ready when I'm perfect is a lie. That is self-sabotage. That is not saying that we can't work on ourselves, that we can't unpack our trauma, that we can't go to therapy. Perfection tends to be yes, but, and or no, but I'm not ready, but I'll be ready then. That, to me, that's just false hopes. It's just I don't even know how to describe that. That's just false. It's fake. But I like to see and say things as it's a yes and. Okay, yes, I need to work myself, and I can try my best in the relationship that I have now. And I said this in a TikTok, in a video, but ready is a choice. Ready is not a feeling. And for me, when I was looking at Clay, he definitely had these feelings. He had feelings for AD, probably still does, maybe. And he was really holding himself back, and he was determining his ability to be a good husband based on his feeling of being ready. And I will tell you from experience, getting married, getting the job, whatever the thing that you are scared to do, ready isn't a feeling, ready is a choice. We choose that. Another good example, ask any parent, and if they felt ready to be a parent, I guarantee they will say either no, like you're not going to make enough money, you're never going to feel like you have the right house, you're never going to fill in the blank. That being a parent is a choice, it's a decision that people make, and marriage is the same thing. So I just want to, this whole conversation in the moment is really about, it's not about being perfect. You will never be perfect. Perfection is a lie. And so waiting to be ready for that feeling is only going to cause you more discomfort and more disconnection. So ready is a choice. All right. So that's from that person's perspective. Now I want to talk about us. All right. The person that is feeling rejected. All right. And I have felt that myself. I mean, I definitely felt rejected when that person that I wanted to get married to, even though my attachment was to that destination, he still wasn't in the moment ready. And I felt totally rejected. The story that I made up, and when I say story, the thoughts that I had, because thoughts are just stories, they're not facts, there's no evidence of them. The story that I made was that I wasn't good enough, that I maybe wasn't pretty enough, talented enough, wasn't a good enough girlfriend. For me, it was like all under the umbrella of not enoughness. I'm going to make that a phrase. And that could not have been any further than the truth. That was just something that I made up in my head, because somebody being ready or not has nothing to do with your worthiness or your value. I will say that again. Somebody not being ready has zero to do with your value and your worthiness. And I think that, and I know, for me personally, I can only make the guess for you that you might be making that mean something about you. And here's just a beautiful way of thinking about this, that just because somebody sees you in a fuzzy way, like maybe they're not really crystal clear on your value, it's like they need glasses. Just because they can't see you in your full value has nothing to do with you. I am still me and here and present, but if the glasses are fuzzy for the other person, or they don't have glasses, they need a prescription, that has nothing to do with your value. It has nothing to do with what you bring to the table, and that, not that that even matters. Forget what you bring to the table. Who you are being is valuable, and just because they can't see it doesn't mean anything about you. Just because they need a prescription doesn't mean anything about you and who you are and what you bring and who you're being. Zero. So I remember this too because I was going through a breakup, shocker, and I just really didn't, my friend who was really sweet and really helpful, she tried to tell me, well, you're a unicorn, and it's okay that he doesn't see unicorns. And now I was feeling supported by her, but I couldn't quite grasp it. But I really hope the glasses analogy is supportive to you, that again, but just because they need LASIK, just because they didn't wear contacts, again, has nothing to do with you. So in the face of rejection or feeling rejection, it is important that to remember that they're the one that needs glasses. They're the ones that need LASIK. It has nothing to do with who you are or what you do. Now, the thing that really helped me is understanding that relationships are not built on what I do or what I bring to the table. Okay, it's not. I didn't find my husband or we are a match because was I don't know. I worked hard, or I had a certain job, or because fill in the blank. All the things I had, I don't know, skinnier. None of that was really why my husband and I were a match. It was all about who I was being. And this goes to say, if you are really attached to your doingness as a person, then you're going to have a really complex view or feel all kinds of ways when you do see rejection or face rejection, because you've put a lot of value in your doingness versus who you be. All right. And there's a big, big difference in valuing what we do for people and not who we be with people. Because I will tell you, and this is what I do with all my clients, whether in one-on-one or in my programs, who you be is everything. Who you are being is what matters most in relationship. And so if you have a dysfunctional relationship and I have to do XYZ to be valued, I have to get good grades, I have to go to this school, I have to have this job. If you have dysfunctional thoughts around your value being equated to what you do, your relationships will reflect that. And I'll just say for me, that was a lot of unhappiness in my relationships. So I really suggest orienting yourself into your sense of self, your sense of self-worth, your own confidence, that who you be is what attracts the right person to you and leads you down a road to a healthy relationship and marriage. Okay? So that's my thoughts on that. And let me know if I should do more shows or episodes on Love is Blind. I'm here to remind you that you are valuable and you are worthy, and not because of what you do, it's who you're being. All right? Sending you so much love, and I believe in you. Mwah.